This live stream brought to you by the Excelsior Citizen and these generous sponsors. The Simmons Sales Team, your hometown realtors. Find out how you can advertise with Excelsior Springs' #1 community resource. Visit ExcelsiorCitizen.com today.
We're approving May curriculum.
All in your window.
Push it. No. There's something out there. Ready, Lisa? All right, we call the meeting to order. You'll get a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
First by Kalen, second by Troy. All those in favor? That passes 7-0. You will join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This time I'd entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
First by Troy, second by Rick. All those in favor? And that passes 7-0. Next up is classified employee recognition. Dr. Tomlinson.
If it pleases the board, I'd like to invite Rhonda Stevenson to come up and be recognized for being awesome this month. I think that's what it says. It's the official.
This month or every month?
Well, every month. We only give it to you 1 month at a time, right? So, Rhonda was nominated by Brian Sloan and Jessica Broadbent, and they wrote that they wanted to recommend her for the award because of her outstanding service, how she goes above and beyond reaching the students' needs on a daily basis, that she creates an environment in the recovery room where students are able to take breaks and de-escalate due to the safe and calm surroundings. She organizes, communicates, and they're very lucky to have Rhonda as part of the Cornerstone Elementary team, and they just want to let you know how much they appreciate you. So,
Okay, thank you so much. Now we need your speech.
All right, next up is recognition of our 21-22 retirees.
Well, if I could ask our retirees to come forward, we've got Vicki Getz, Randy Barnes, Donna Petrie, and Susan Hall.
Susan. But yeah, I can retire.
Thank you.
So, just so you know, we're going to get lots of pictures of you guys, if that's okay. But I also wanted to ask you a couple questions. Could you tell us, maybe tell the board, how long you've worked at Excelsior Springs, how long you've been in education, and maybe what you're looking forward to next?
25 years in education and 25 years at Excelsior. I started here and finishing here. I've got a new grandson, and that's what I'm looking forward to, is spending time with him. So.
Nice. Thank you.
I've been here for 36 years. Was here when the program started, and Rockin' Tiger Club, and just kept on going.
Still rocking.
Had a lot of great kids, and people go through this program, and several of them have gone on to be educators and principals and lots of other stuff. So I'm just going to enjoy some time.
Well, I'm the baby because I've only been here 22 years. I had a different career before I started here. I worked at the hospital for 15 here in Excelsior, and I'm just planning on spending time with my family camping. So.
Nice. Well, I think I speak on behalf of everybody in the school district about how much we appreciate the commitment that you've shown the district over the years and what you've meant to so many lives here. And we just want to give you our heartfelt thanks for all you've done for everyone here. And we truly appreciate you guys. You've got a small gift in there as a token of our appreciation. And we also got you a year membership to the Missouri Retired Teachers Association. It's the largest association in the state and helps fight for the most important thing you'll ever have, your retirement pension. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
15 more. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
No need to leave yet. There's a great feature film coming up next. You'll find enjoyable.
They're already ignoring everything.
Bye.
We've retired. We're done. Later. All right. Next up is our May 22 board MSBA board report. Mr. McCown.
Play that beautiful role. Okay.
Brent.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of May. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at cybersecurity issues facing our schools. Cyber attacks on schools in Missouri and throughout the nation are on the increase. They include ransomware, data breaches, and what's known as denial of service, when cyber attackers flood a school district's network with messages that can crash a school district's technology system. It's a serious problem for school districts that are increasingly dependent on technology for teaching, learning, and administrative functions. Bob Klossmeyer is an Education Safety Coordinator for MSBA's Center for Education Safety, and he says school districts are often targets for cyber attacks because of the large amount of data they store. He adds, it's critical for school district technology staff to keep current on cybersecurity threats that are becoming more sophisticated.
These systems are advancing so fast, and the attackers are a step ahead of everyone. They need to be updated on everything and well educated in that area. So that commitment and investment and focus on that cybersecurity infrastructure is important, is vital to keeping these schools safe.
Klossmeyer says cybersecurity should be a part of a school district's overall school safety plan.
Because your cybersecurity element is very much part of your emergency operation plan. And so we offer a tool to help develop those plans, but there's also an annex on that cybersecurity element that would build those procedures to follow in terms of protecting, both preventing and responding to a cyber attack.
You can contact MSBA's Center for Education Safety for resources related to cybersecurity and many other school safety issues. Missouri is home to 2 active duty military bases, Whiteman Air Force Base near Knob Noster and Fort Leonard Wood near Waynesville. Educating the children of the many military families stationed at those bases poses some unique challenges, including frequent moves as well as deployments. First Lady Jill Biden and U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona visited Whiteman Air Force Base and the Knob Noster School District in April, designated as the month of the military child. Cardona told an audience, including students of military families, they face challenges different from other students, and praised school districts such as Knob Noster for providing them with the support they need to be successful in school.
As Americans, we must never allow the sacrifice of our military families to sacrifice the quality of education available to their children. I'm honored to be here with you, recognizing the month of the military child. And I'm humbled and inspired by your work day in and day out.
A military child can expect to move 6 to 9 times between kindergarten and the end of high school. MSBA's Igniting Great Ideas Summit is set for June 10th through 12th in St. Charles. This event features a wide range of topics and speakers related to school board leadership and current issues facing boards of education. We'll also be holding our June Delegate Assembly at the summit, when delegates will be electing statewide officers for the coming year. Every MSBA member board is entitled to have at least one voting delegate at the Delegate Assembly, and we urge your school board to be represented at this important meeting. You can watch video interviews with the candidates for state office posted on the MSBA website. Registration information on the Igniting Great Ideas Summit is posted on the MSBA website. If your school district is interested in sharing some of your outstanding programs and practices with other school districts in the state, now's the time to submit a proposal to present at the 2022 MSBA Annual Conference to be held November 3rd through 6th in Kansas City. Concurrent sessions will be held on Friday, November 4th and Saturday, November 5th. The deadline for submitting a proposal to present at the 2022 Annual Conference is Friday, May 27th. Check the MSBA website for more details. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Anything else, Darren?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. We don't have any visitors for the visitor forum tonight. Moving on to the superintendent's report, Dr. Hooks.
We have some items in discussion action, so I'll skip to legislative update. Hot and heavy legislative session and getting toward the end, so a lot of bills out there. It looks like Senate Bill 681, it was the mandatory reading intervention bill, has turned into somewhat of an omnibus bill. It had 57 amendments, has since been reduced down to 29 amendments. I'd also note that House Bill 3002, which is the appropriations bill for K-12 funding, that got worked out. They added $214 million in for transportation funding, so it'll be the first time since the 90s, I believe, that transportation will be fully funded. Of course, the governor still has to sign that, which will be probably mid-June. There is also another House Bill 1606. It's another omnibus bill. It has a lot of tax cut opportunities in there, I guess you could call it, like you know, capping assessed valuation at 10%, or eliminating personal property taxes in St. Charles County. So a lot of bills out there that there's Senate Joint Resolution 39 out, and that's also to cap property taxes. That'd be something that would become a vote of the people, and if that's passed, then the Senate or House, either one, could come back and implement such a law. But well, lots of stuff out there. We're keeping an eye on it, but importantly, the K-12 education funding bill has been sorted, and it was good to see that additional funding placed in there for transportation. Any questions?
Not on that. Any questions? Okay. You gonna do enrollment update, or
No, enrollment update information is there for you to view. No significant changes.
All right. Pardon me. Next up is approval of discussion items. First up is approval of the architect contract renewal.
We recently engaged with our district architect to renegotiate our contract. Been beneficiaries of the Friends and Family discount for this new contract. Inside Design has reduced their fees when applied to the anticipated projects that are in the long-range facility plan. Would be a reduction in fees that we would have to pay by about $300,000. So it's a good improvement here. So thank you to Inside Design, and we should benefit from that.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
First by Troy, second by Rick. Any questions in regards to the contract?
Awesome.
Is the reduction in fees the reason why Brian doesn't come anymore? I mean, I just thought that was a valid question.
He's still upset.
It's more of a bonus for you.
It is. I mean, it's a win-win for us no matter how you look at it. Yeah.
Poor Brian, this is being recorded.
Hopefully he's at home watching.
That was Patrick.
All right, having a first and second, no questions. All those in favor? And that passes 7-0. Next up is approval of the proposed 22-23 salary schedules. Dr. Hucks.
So surrounding districts are making dramatic increases to staff pay, which I don't blame them, given that Missouri is the 50th out of 50 in starting teacher pay. We also recently created a new CSIP this year, which goal 4.3 is to attract and retain staff, and to do that, it's important that we maintain comparable pay. The district leadership team, made up of stakeholders within the staff employee ranks, met on Monday and to discuss a proposal to increase pay here for the Excelsior Springs School District. They came to consensus on the following, which is for certified staff to raise the base from $37,500 to $39,000. That's a $1,500 increase, which is also 4% exactly, and also a step. And for administration, 4% increase to the base and a step. For the PAT technology salary schedule, 4% to the base and a step. For Latchkey, which is the Rock and Tiger Club, 4% to the base and a step. And for classified, this one's a little unique, 4% to the base and a step for maintenance, nursing, administrative assistant, and LPN, as well as $12 minimum wage and a step for custodian, assistant, crossing guard, and secretary. So those are the recommendations made by that group. If anybody have any questions?
Refresh my memory, the state raised the minimum to $38,000?
There is currently funding in the bill with the governor still has to sign to raise the base teaching salary to $38,000. They'll do a 70-30 match for that. So
And
that's the
we'll
new
be
goal.
at 39,000.
We'll be at
So we'll be
39.
1,000 above the state average.
Correct, sir.
Okay.
So moved.
First by Kalen,
Second.
second by Troy. Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor? And that's 7-0. Perfect. Next up, proposed Board of Education work session, I'm assuming. Dr. Hucks.
Yes, I would ask that the board consider a work session for July 25th at 5:30 at the central office to go over the long-range facilities plan that will be presented to you momentarily, so that we can talk about next steps. And those next steps will include things like funding options and a timetable. And we would probably also bring in MSIP 6 to get up to date on that. Superintendent goals for the new year, and probably some school finance stuff. So I would ask that you entertain that date as a work session.
Does that work for everybody?
So moved.
It's what far enough out that we should be good. All right, we have a first by Kalen, second by Troy. July, motion is for July the 25th, 5:30 at the central office. All those in favor? And that passes 7-0. Next up, approval of the approval of the long-range facility plan. Dr. Hucks.
Thank
Tried
you.
to skip you guys tonight.
Try to put them very last, right? So I have a couple of fellows here from Insight Design Studios. They have been helping us with the long-range facility plan, and they are here to present what the long-range facility plan committee came together and created. Aaron and Patrick, take it away.
Aaron Hardy with Inside Design Studio. Patrick Smith, our office director in Kansas City. I do most of the long-range planning, so it's kind of a two-person battle here. He's here for questions. He does a lot of the project implementation. So I came before you several months ago, and we did a report card update. And included in there, we went through and deep dove a bunch of information in terms of breaking down all the facilities in terms of capacities and conditions, and looked at a bunch of different variables and rated each building. We considered enrollment, current enrollment, utilization rates. We looked a little bit into the future and tried to understand what it might look like in the coming years, so we can have that information as part of our data as we worked our way forward. And we concluded that with a list of challenges that we wanted to try to address or identify in the next steps. So that's what we've been doing the last couple months. Part of that process included revising and kind of deep diving the list of challenges to try to understand how we can improve them, at least kind of a top level understanding of what it might cost and what the process might look like, if there is any challenges within these challenges, and how we had to step into that. But also we wanted to understand that we understood how the users of these facilities prioritized these projects and what goals they had in terms of implementing improvements. So it went beyond our office and our planning. We just wanted to collect that feedback so we could use it as a base of how we put projects before you and how we've implemented things over the years. So as part of this, we went through several rounds of surveys and engagement with user groups, and we honed in on 5 goals that were somewhat generic, but also, you can kind of see how they relate, but they have some specific targets on what they're addressing. And as part of these 5, we sent out a follow-up survey, and we asked everyone to rank these, how they would prioritize them, and then collected that information. And you can see, it's 1 through 5. There were some clear-cut winners. There were some clear-cut, I don't want to say losers, they're all important, but ones that were least, less favorable than the others. But when we looked at it in a different perspective, and I'm stealing Maslow here, it became apparent that before we could move on to a certain goal, there was a certain set of goals that needed to be accomplished before that. And it's so eerily similar. I just used the diagram. I did not, this is how we save money. I didn't buy any copyrights here. This is totally illegal. So understanding that goal 1 was to fix the facilities that we have now, maintain our things, pride in the schools, fix what we have, and make sure we have a plan for moving forward to keeping things fixed. The second goal that goes hand in hand with that is to keep our kids and our occupants safe, secure, and keep the buildings accessible. Beyond that was engaging the students and the staff to make sure that every plan that's put before them has their input, and make sure they have an opportunity for feedback, and then being proactive in our changes. And then at the top, self-actualization. We can have innovative and flexible learning environments. And you can kind of see how this worked, that people aren't even thinking about innovative learning environments when they're worried about their roofs falling in and there's water dripping on them and there's paint peeling, right? They're not worried about an innovative learning experience. To some people, just having a nice room where they can control their own temperature and have good, nice light quality. So that's how we put our plan together, and you'll see how we phase things in, that we took that to heart, and we made sure that we prioritize our proposed plan in the same method. We did have a work session last week. It was fun. We gave everybody sticky dots and let them tell us things they liked, things they didn't like, things that should go sooner or later. Some people might have put a lot of dots on the same thing and skewed the data. No, just kidding. No, it was great. We had, 25 people in the room, and there was a lot of conversation, and around each one of these boards at any given time, 4 or 5 people were discussing each of the line items and trying to better understand what they meant and whether they should go sooner or later, if it was just right. So it was a fun afternoon of working through that, and we did make some changes from this. So move some things, push things up and back. There'll be plenty of time to refine these things. All we're trying to do is set aside buckets of money for different projects and try and identify what things might cost in certain time frames. So why we're here. This is the overview of the plan that we have today. And again, we welcome our feedback. So I'll just go building by building. I have these in phases. We'll work through timeline at the work session. We know that this is going to be a multi-phase approach. 2 or 3, 4 years in between each one, depending on the funding mechanism. But right out of the gate, work at the Early Childhood Center. So they were the manufacturer of the first round of work. They have a new building, or they relocated to a new building for them. And it's working great. They have a lot of room to grow. The program has opportunity to grow. There's still some things that need to be addressed in the facility. The roof is as a factor right now. So in phase 1, a new roof. Also looking at the HVAC system, providing some dedicated fresh air ventilation system throughout, and then also upgrading the existing facade, maybe helping it look more like an early childhood center, freshening it up, making it more, having curb appeal, really, so that program can continue to grow. Diagram, the dark gold is getting an entirely new roof. The light gold is just getting some redding, some work that got done in the previous phase, but it needs to be connected together and buttoned up. In the second phase, this is where, so the first phase is really focused on making a big impact, especially in the HVAC, on the quality of the learning spaces. The roofing is fixing, so we're addressing that bottom layer of the pyramid. The next layer is further up in the pyramid. It's finish updates. The carpet is still functionable, but maybe a new facelift in there. Looking at paint, ceiling tiles, some fire alarm upgrades, things like that. There is big hopes in this facility, so I've also shown a little area for a future addition at the Early Childhood Center. So we have that plugged in, and it'll stay there until we can get it built at some point. And but we have that tentatively planned in phase 2. But you can see extensive amount of finish updates throughout the building. We want this to have a kind of a feeling of its own. Right now, it's pieces of the old elementary school, then pieces of the even older Westview. Just giving it a facelift on the inside to make it a more early childhood center building, and then reset its life on the inside for the years to come. Elkhorn, I'm sorry, yes. Yeah.
You were talking about the HVAC at the early childhood. Didn't we put a brand new system in that?
This is a dedicated ventilation system. I think the rooftop equipment got replaced, but it does not have a dedicated outdoor air ventilation system. So, yep. And that particular piece of work, we're going to continue, I think, in that. At least I've got it slated now to continue work with an energy management service or performance contractor. So they're the ones that have done the work previously. So I'll be following their lead on what they think needs to continue to be done.
And just like, it says up there right now, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You could almost say those are phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Phase 1, what was already been completed, the Cornerstone Elementary, Elkhorn, and early childhood were kind of the largest benefactors of that 3. But just like this there'll be some mechanical and roofs in this phase and then that phase, and it's kind of just a progressive approach that we're picking up, kind of continuing on from what was the previous phase.
And you said restrooms were going to be upgraded at the early childhood?
Yes.
Put restrooms in each room?
Each room has restrooms right now. Some of them, the public restrooms, are a little bit big for some of the occupants. Going in there and maybe lowering some fixtures and things of that sort. So, and just, right now if you go in there, there's steps up to the sink and things like that. Maybe just making it a little bit more appropriate for the kiddos that are in there. So nothing major, but just replacing some fixtures to make it more for them. At Elkhorn, there are a few things that were carried over from the previous round of projects. The traffic and the parking lot conditions, that's a safety concern, as well as some equity issues at the playground. So by the time we're done with the second phase, there's going to be a lot of new playgrounds in the district, and having the opportunity to come back into Elkhorn and look at the existing one and see if there's some pieces that we can put in there to kind of create more equity and accessibility for those students out there, and in the building security, upgrading that building system. So those are in the media year. They just got a big project done, but there's a few things to wrap up, things that fell on the bottom of the pyramid that we wanted to make sure that we put a little bit of money aside for out there. In the second phase, there was a piece of the building that did not get any finish updates, and phase 2 would just be finishing out the rest of the building to look like the building that was just renovated, and then also looking at the existing restrooms, the kitchen, some of those areas that were not addressed in the previous phase. So that would be in the phase 2 of this plan. And eventually there will be some HVAC by when we think phase 3 might be. If it's 10 years out, there's probably going to be some HVAC equipment that's coming up on its life expectancy. So we just set a little bit of money in there just to make sure we have something to upgrade that if needed at that point. Cornerstone, I have nothing allocated right now. They should be good in terms of bond or levy funds. We are continuing to work through the post-occupancy surveys and make sure that what was built is operating correctly and functioning. We're not walking away from that, and we're monitoring warranty items and those sort of things. But in terms of future planning, we have nothing set aside for Cornerstone.
And I don't know if any of you remember this, but typically a standard warranty on a building is a 1-year warranty. Newkirk and Novak, the construction manager for Cornerstone, actually gave a 2-year warranty on all those construction projects. So there's an added year onto that warranty, and that stands for Elkhorn and the early childhood as well.
Yep. Lewis is the project that was identified in the previous round as really the main project for this phase. And we worked our way through. We looked at the building again, like with fresh set of eyes to see what's the right decision to do there. The cost to replace or versus renovate was so high that really replacement is still the right option. That's what we came to previously, and that's what we was discussed in the meeting last week, and it was the winner by far. Lots of stickers for building replacement. We do have some options. We started kicking around. I think previously there was an option that was floated around that would tear down Lewis and then build back and kind of knock it down, build back, students in session maybe using trailers or other schools or as overflow. When working at the site, there is options out there where we can build a school behind the current facility. It'll be disruptive in the sense that a lot of the playground areas and things like that might be disrupted, but students will be able to go to school and stay within those buildings and minimize any use of trailers or anything like that. So we have not gone too deep into this design. We just know that there is a way to make that happen. So that's something we'll continue to vet out as we work our way forward. At the middle school, again, the middle school and the high school, these were buildings that just had a lot of, you started to get into a lot of the things you're not going to see a lot of. You got mechanical equipment and things like that. So we tried to separate and make sure that in multiple phases, we had multiple things happening. Because we want people to see her fixing things that need to be fixed when they need to be fixed. And in this particular building, the thing that needs to be fixed is the mechanical system. There is multiple units that serve the most of the building that are beyond its useful life. So they may still be operating, they may not be operating well, and it's kind of it's if, not when, not if, whatever that is. We need to get it worked on. So that's the main project here, but we also want to make sure that the middle schoolers are getting more attention than that because they didn't get a whole lot of love in the first round. And in part of this plan, we're trying to impact as many kids as possible in each phase. In this case, what we've looked at doing is taking the classroom portion of the building and updating the finishes. New carpet, new paint, new flooring, just kind of freshen up the spaces, but then also to take a look at the commons or the corridors. We get a lot of feedback that the corridor arrangement now with the lockers, the way they're split up, there's some visibility issues and natural surveillance, and are the lockers really being used the same way, and is there a way to rethink that? So we want to make sure that opportunity is in phase one, where we can rethink those corridors. Could they be more flexible, more collaborative? Maybe we're just putting lockers back the way they are, very similar? We don't know. That's something we want to look into, but giving it a new look and a new space. So those middle schoolers have a space that's just, they finally got some love in this plan. I think they're due. The outside of the building has a little bit of updating that needs to be done as well. In phase two, basically doing what we did in phase one, but to the balance of the building. The gym, the commons, and the specials that are over on the other side, so new finishes, new updates of that sort. And then also in the final phase, probably about 10 years out from needing some roof work. This roof's early enough that although the price tag is expensive, it's a very conservative estimate, it's early enough that we can actually retrofit or coat that roof and extend and get another 15, 20 years out of it once we do that. So, and it's about half the price of a new roof. So that's something we'll be considering and monitoring. So we have a roofing consultant we work with, and when they say it's time now's the right time, we'll make sure we roll with it, but we're not going to do it before they say that. And you can see it's the whole roof because it's all the same age.
And something to tie into those finishes too at the middle school. We saw this at the high school commons, and there's been a bunch of studies done at other schools and stuff too. When you get a new upgrade and the kids are extremely proud of that new finishes, the safety and security component of that Maslow theory improves as well. There's less disciplinary issues, there's less vandalism, anything like that, because they're proud of the space that they're in. So that kind of ties to it as well.
And I think that's been seen at the high school already in the cafeteria. The feedback we've gotten is that the students are excited about the space and enjoy using it, which segues into the high school. So, Phase 1 would be to do what was done at the Commons to all the other public areas. The hallways, the gymnasium, kind of anything that's in the public purview or in the public areas. The corridors, kind of like the middle school, although we don't have the best opportunity. Think about how those lockers are being used, where they need to be, how many there need to be, and is there any other way we can use those corridors for opportunities for students. So that's something investigated. Upgrading the restrooms. I know the admin suite or some of the other administrative areas, there were some concerns about the functionality there and location primarily. So taking a look at those, and then breaking off a little bit of money to do some renovations, like the science wing or some chunk of classrooms to upgrade those spaces. In Phase 2, we do the rest of the school. And that would be all the classrooms, anything that wasn't done before. Also rolling in some various electrical upgrades, HVAC, things like that. So this one at the high school is kind of flipped. A lot of the systems aren't necessarily needed immediately. They've been kind of pushed along long enough, but they will need work in the future. So in Phase 1 here, we're doing more of the finish upgrades and coming back and doing systems. In Phase 2, we're at the middle school, we're kind of flipping that a little bit. So you can see the balance of the school getting taken care of. There is a phase, I have something shown in Phase 3, but it's kind of a wild card in terms of when it happens. And let me go to that. It's a auxiliary gymnasium. So based on the student load we have now, there is a need programmatically for another gym. And we also need a safe room. There is a grant that's been applied for, although we have yet to receive one. Which would pay for a large chunk of this. The way it stands right now, built without grant funds, there's probably other projects that priority-wise slide in Phase 2. Those funds would go to those. If a grant was to be received, that would change the perspective because it would pay quite a bit, and maybe you defer some of the finish updates or you defer something else, and we reevaluate it at that point. So, contingent on FEMA funding or some other grant or a miraculous AV increase or something, that's where that is slotted right now. There was some move it up and there was some not move it up comments on the board. So it's one of those polarizing issues. So we deep dive that as we got further. But it can be made a case either way on that. And then at the Career Center, everything here is pushed out to about Phase 3. There's a lot more conversation that needs to happen here. This is just looking at the existing facility, things that would need to be maintained. Everything can go out about 10 years. Just some finish updates and electrical and HVAC, things that respond to the programs that are in there and the wear and tear that's in the buildings, making sure we keep it up. The bigger conversation, though, is what is the future of the CTE or the Career Center? What programs need to be there, and can they fit there? And is it something to have? But for the building that's here now, Phase 3 is when a lot of that work would be taken care of. This is where most of the work would be done in Phase 3. So I have a total slide on there, some big numbers. We're not exactly sure where the funding amounts will slot out. This is some very preliminary information. Again, the years and when these go would have some impact. You can see the first round's around 35 to 40 million, depending on how we fund it, and then after that it's 16 to 17, and then another 16 to 17. And so, as we lock in funding or we start to continue to move projects around, I said this in the last meeting, that every time we make a decision for something, we're inadvertently making a decision against something else, especially when it comes into this kind of phasing. So we want to make sure that as we move things around, that we have a very good reason on why we're sliding something forward or backwards, and that equally we have a good reason to move something else in the opposite direction, unless the funding does change substantially. So that was our overview. We're here for questions. I went through it really fast. It's the quickest I've gone through 75 million in a long time. Yeah. But I think we'll probably deep dive this more in a work session. So.
Yep.
Anybody have questions?
Now the figures, the extended out figures, those numbers account for inflation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. What I used to consider to be strong inflation numbers, I'm now using as like minimal inflation numbers. So the ones that are about 8-9 years out, I mean, there's 42% inflation in there. We'll see. I don't know if we'll ever see that. Who knows where it goes, but we want to be protected. So again, we'll continue to monitor that. As we work our way through even the Phase 1, we'll probably tier how we bid that out so we can start to test the market and see where the next piece of those phases would be. we're navigating this very delicately right now, so we'll be creative on how we do that.
In the high school total, that 25 million, is that the full price of the auxiliary gym?
That includes
included
yeah,
in there?
about $9 million of that is the auxiliary gym.
And the FEMA funding for that is what, 75%?
It is. You might go into
There's two different, typically it's a 75-25 split, but there are some 90-10s as well. But usually it's a 75% funding of the grant. So sometimes you might want to decide, look, we're going to get the grant money, and it is allocated based on the number of people. Usually we'd look at the students and the staff, how many people would fit into that safe room, that size is the safe room, right? Sometimes you might want that space to be a little larger than that. So the 75-25 or 90-10 is of the space allocated for the students and staff or whoever is going to be utilizing that space. And then the non-FEMA eligible would be extra funds as well on the district. But yeah, of the grant, it's 75-25 typically.
All right, entertain a motion to approve the long-range facility plan.
So moved.
First by Troy.
Second.
Second by Darren. Anybody else have questions, comments?
Great work, all done. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor? And that passes 7-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is approval of the May curriculum. Dr. Miller.
Thank you. As you know, we have been working very hard on finishing our curriculum for the district. So I'm looking for, you'll see in this month's curriculum, the majority of it is the middle school. With the approval of this, this will conclude curriculum. So it was finished. This is the foundation that we will build upon for years and years, but just huge help from the administrators, the teachers. Like, this definitely took a village. The instructional coaches were absolutely instrumental in this. So just wanted to kind of celebrate that, and this is the last time I'm ever going to ask you for approval of curriculum in public like this, just to let you know. So yeah, curriculum's done. Yay.
Yeah, I'd add we had 3 major goals coming into this year: the CSIP, the long-range facility plan, and a written curriculum. So we're
Now
making
let's
things happen.
change some courses around and rewrite.
I know, no, we're not. No new things. No new things, please.
So moved. I'm so excited about this.
All right, we have a first by Kayla and a second. Second by Rick. Any questions for Dr. Miller?
Fantastic.
Congratulations. Very good.
Thank you.
Not believe you could have done it.
All those in favor? And that passes 7-0.
I know.
Record time. All right. That concludes tonight's meeting. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
First by Troy. Second by Caitlin. All those in favor? Have a good night.